This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV. We are on day 2 of Cloud Expo, New York, 2015. A lot of people here. This is the most people I've ever seen at this event, and one of those people is Troy Topnik with ActiveState. ActiveState is in Vancouver, Canada, which is not really that important. What is important is they like it, but what's important is their product Staccato is what the company's all about, and what it's really all about is the Cloud Foundry platform as a service product on which it's built. And I'm going to let Troy tell you about it. Let's talk a little bit about Staccato, Cloud Foundry, and how all that works.
So Staccato is commercial distribution of Cloud Foundry. ActiveState's an independent vendor of this solution. It's geared primarily for private platform as a service, but we have other customers in other areas as well. It's software that people can easily install to get Cloud Foundry working for them and to get an experience of being the platform provider for their own internal users.
I think there may be a little confusion among some people. I did a show of hands yesterday about Cloud Foundry, and there wasn't as much knowledge as I thought there would be. Cloud Foundry is an open source project. However, if you try to, and you can download and use the open source version, but good luck with that.
Well, exactly, and I forget, because we were just talking earlier that we have a lot of shared knowledge about Cloud Foundry and what it's all about and what it's for, but when we come to a show like this, we do have to start from the beginning and explain, okay, we're talking about a platform for cloud-native applications. What does that mean? That means you get a service like Heroku, like Google App Engine, that you can run yourself, that you can run on your own data center, or you can run in the public cloud, you can run it in the private cloud. And this is the problem that Cloud Foundry is designed to solve. It's an open source framework that allows people to build different implementations of a platform as a service, and it's very hard to set up. Or it is hard to get the knowledge in place in an organization to set up Cloud Foundry, and so a lot of the commercial vendors want to make this as easy as possible, and what we, I think, specialize in is making the experience for the administrators in terms of setting it up and managing it ongoing very pleasant and really low impact, so they don't have a lot of upfront knowledge gain to go through just to get things started.
You know, in some of it's almost too simple. You just say push and your app goes off. But there's so much going underneath that, and there's so much that goes with it before you get to that point. Yeah. And I think that's how Staccato differentiates itself.
That's how we differentiate ourselves for sure, because we've all seen the demos, or not everybody, but everyone who's familiar with Cloud Foundry has seen the application push demo. The idea that we wanted to make it very easy for developers to push applications into this containerized environment. But what we don't see is the setup. And I know Pivotal CF has its own way of quickly setting things up, and some of the other distributions as well, but we've really tried to go out of our way to make it easy for the people who are setting it up and managing it to do so easily.
How much does DevOps culture, or so-called development of DevOps culture, play into this? Because I think that one of the advantages of POS, one of the advantages of Cloud Foundry, is to sort of get developers and operations thinking in the same team.
Well, PaaS is about self-service of application hosting infrastructure. So it enables developers to become DevOps because they have the power to configure those containers exactly as they should, and also the responsibility to configure the containers properly and to configure the application properly, even though it's running in a PaaS and so much is done automatically. Ops has to work with the development very closely to make sure, even though it's an automated process, that it's done with good architecture, that these are good 12-factor apps using Heroku's terminology, and that the processes are in place to use this new platform, to its best ability.
For those who are not all that familiar with the term 12-factor apps, we don't have time to go through the whole thing here, but you can Google it and you can find out exactly what's involved, and that'll help you along that road. You mentioned containers. Let's talk a little bit about containers and what they are and how you deploy with Cloud Foundry.
So there's some history here that's kind of interesting. When we first picked up Cloud Foundry, it was V1. It was shortly after it was open sourced, and there was no separation of user applications except for at the Unix level or the Linux user level. We had been been previously exploring LXC with container technology and decided in a very early version of Staccato to implement that. So we were using LXC to implement containers, which are necessary for these applications. When you've got a multi-tenant system, you want to make sure that one application is not using an unfair amount of resources, right, that you can limit the amount of RAM, that you can limit the amount of disk. These sort of things are best done with containers, and at the time, LXC was the best tool chain for manipulating those for Linux. The Cloud Foundry thought this was a good idea and developed their own container management tool chain, which at the time was called Warden, and the next generation of Cloud Foundry Diego, it's called Garden. And it's a part of Lattice. We've taken a slightly different route because as they were developing that, Docker emerged. Right. Huge thing. Tremendous uptake in the development community, and we liked using it ourselves. So we replaced the container management portion of the DEA in Cloud Foundry speak, that's the elastic runtime, with Docker. So we actually are running Docker containers in our Cloud Foundry paths.
Well, I wish we had about another hour here, but we don't. The thing is, what you just mentioned there, Cloud Foundry was, originally the idea was for private cloud and really for really large deployments. They would say if you're kind of a small guy, but now you've got this Lattice, which is coming out, which is much more geared for a smaller project or a test project. And there's so much going on. And then Diego is coming out, which takes certain functionalities and puts it here, and then there's a whole topic of Bosch, and there's a lot of stuff going on with this. It's very, very powerful. But to summarize, I think the best thing is for people to contact you so they can get the whole catalog of what's going on. There are other vendors out there. There is a foundation. There's an open source version. In a few seconds, why should they contact ActiveState first?
Because it's the easiest way to get started with Cloud Foundry. Absolutely the easiest way.
That's the best answer I've ever heard. You want to be succinct, that's it. We've been sitting here with Troy Topnik with ActiveState. It's ActiveState.com?
ActiveState.com or Staccato.com?
ActiveState.com or Staccato, check the spelling, as in a stack, STACKATO, Staccato.com. Troy, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. For Syscon TV, this is Roger Struckoff.